What is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. I hope you all had a great Mother's Day weekend. I'm sure if you're a 76ers fan, probably wasn't as great as it should have been for you. Getting swept by the Knicks. That was just an ass kicking, to be honest, from the start. We've witnessed a lot of 4-0s in the NBA during the playoff series, whatever. And that felt like the quickest one. I mean, that was over from the second it started. I thought it would have been a lot more competitive than it was. I had that series going to like 6 games. I definitely think the Sixers were underdogs in that series, but it didn't. I didn't expect it to be quite so dominant or one-sided for the Knicks. So congrats to them for getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals. But speaking of the NBA, we had the draft lottery yesterday. The Wizards getting the number 1 overall pick again for the first time since John Wall. And that's kind of crazy to think considering all the bad years they've had in between. And that was 2010. So that's been 15, 16 years now since they've had their number 1 overall pick. And they've had a lot of losing seasons in between. And this is a hell of a year to have it for them. I think they have a lot of options to explore with that pick. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. We'll talk about the Jazz and the Grizzlies briefly as they're right behind there with the number 2 and the number 3 pick. We'll talk about the Pacers as well. Not even having a top pick in the draft, considering they were one of the worst teams in the NBA. I think that's a pretty disastrous situation for them. And then we'll talk about whether or not tonight will be LeBron's last game in the NBA if they do get swept by Oklahoma City. So we had a lot to talk about. Sit back and enjoy the video, y'all. And let's get into it, talking about the Wizards getting the number 1 overall pick. I think this team will be scary next year. I think they have a lot of really, really good young talent. And I do think one thing they have that's really interesting is that now with Trae Young, is he's still in his prime. You know, he's had a couple of injuries over the last few years. I mean, he dealt with basically a season-ending injury last season. I mean, he barely played. I think he played a couple games for the Wizards. He played a couple games for the Hawks. They could have played him, but they just shut him down to get him healthy, which I fully respect. You might as well tank. It worked for him. They got the number 1 pick, and they have some veteran experience, and they have some really talented young experience on that team. Like, they have depth. And that's the one thing you look at with Oklahoma City, which, by the way, I'm not calling Washington Oklahoma City right now, but their paths to the top are eerily similar. I mean, you look at Oklahoma City, they traded Paul George to LA for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in return for Paul George and a bunch of draft picks, which has turned out to really work out for them. I mean, they are dominating the playoffs right now. They were amazing last year. They've been great over the last few years. They won the championship last year, and they haven't even lost a game yet. And tonight, they could very well sweep again and be in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, they are legitimately looking like they may not even lose a game in a series right now. They are just rolling through teams. And I think the Wizards, now with them trading Bradley Beal to the Suns, they got a chest of picks to work with. Now they have the number 1 overall pick, a lot of great young talent and depth. That's what the Thunder have. Now the Wizards have a long way to go to be where Oklahoma City's at. But I do think that when you look, they could be on a trajectory to be really good for a long time in the East with great young talent and some veteran presence there as well. So, and considering that the East is a lot weaker than the West, I think it could happen a lot quicker than some people think, but again, they do have a long way to go. But what some people are kind of making a big deal out of with this is that, yes, I think we're all pretty certain that they're going to draft AJ Debinsa with the number 1 overall pick. Maybe they'll shake it up and draft Darren Peterson, but I can't imagine. I mean, Debinsa seems like he's the lock of the number 1 pick. I mean, he is. This draft is pretty deep. I mean, there's a lot of talent, and he is a franchise-changing player. So you add that next to Anthony Davis, Trae Young, Trey Johnson, Coulibaly, Alex Sarr. That's a pretty dangerous squad in the East, considering that the East is a lot weaker than the West. So I think they could really make a run. But like I was mentioning, what people are making a big deal out of with this is that the GM and the ownership has come out and said that they will look at exploring trading this number 1 overall pick potentially, which I don't think it's a crazy thing at all. Anthony Davis, he deleted it on his story, but I actually seen it yesterday. I looked it up. I seen Trae Young's been posting all this stuff about them having the number 1 overall pick. He has been excited to be a Washington Wizard. That's the first time I've seen that in a long time. Anyone excited to be a Wizard. But, I mean, he's looking like he wants to change the trajectory of the franchise. But I seen Anthony Davis yesterday. He posted a black screen and 3 laughing emojis, and he kept it up there for a couple hours and deleted it. I checked it this morning. It wasn't on there. I don't know how long it was up there and he deleted it for, but it wasn't up there for 24 hours. So I don't really know what he meant by that. I don't know if people are going around talking about it or not. I haven't seen anything about it, but I've seen that with my own eyes. And he's had very mixed feelings about being a Wizard. He said that he wants to compete. He's getting older, and, he doesn't know if this Wizards team is ready to compete yet. But I'm like, dude, they kind of brought you here to compete. Like, they have great young talent, but, like, you're the piece to compete with. You and Trae Young are, like, the guys with playoff experience. When you have championship experience, you won a championship back in 2020. You've had deep playoff runs. You're seen as a Hall of Fame level player. I mean, when Anthony Davis's career is all said and done, I mean, he'll be one of the greatest power forwards to ever play the game. I mean, he's not Tim Duncan. He's not Dirk Nowitzki. He's not Kevin Garnett. But, I mean, he's easily a top 6 power forward of all time, I'd say. I'd say he could easily finish a top 5, especially if he wins another championship, a top 5 power forward ever, especially in his peak. I mean, he is a great all-time talent. And I think they will look at exploring, and I've seen, for trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, I will say that there is some dangers in that. Or they do need to take caution in trading for Giannis. Because, a lot of people talk about with Anthony Davis, which is true, that he's had a lot of injury issues throughout his whole career, but especially over the last few years now. Giannis has been the same. Giannis is now in his 30s, and he's had some injury issues over the last few years. I mean, I think over the last couple of playoff series, I think both against Indiana, he missed the entire series because he couldn't play in it due to injury. Last year, or this season, if you want to count it, he barely played because he was injured the entire year. He was feuding with Milwaukee. I mean, he's had some injury issues now going into his 30s. How old is Giannis? Let me look it up real quick. I think he's 31, I believe. Let me see. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah, he's 31 years old. So, I mean, it's different than football. Like, a receiver that's 31 years old in football is kind of on his way out. A lot of them by 33, 34 years old are kind of like Odell Beckham and DeAndre Hopkins, kind of just going to a different team every year. You can look at LeBron James. Like, not everyone's LeBron James, but, the NBA is a history of guys playing until they're 38. I mean, Steph Curry right now, I mean, those guys can play into their later years, especially with this generation of athletes and equipment and stuff that keep their bodies fresher and younger for longer. But I think, if they do look at exploring the trade for Giannis, this is the one Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee's been incredibly stubborn for anyone trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if there's a package with Anthony Davis and the number 1 overall pick to trade for Giannis, there's no reason Milwaukee would not take that. I mean, it's looking like a 99% chance Giannis will not be a Milwaukee Buck heading into the next season. But this is a destination I look for. And if they do go for it, look, they won't have the number 1 overall pick, but Giannis is a guy you can look. And if he stays healthy and he's still in his prime, Giannis is dominant. When he played this year, he was dominant still. It wasn't like his play decreased or anything. I mean, it's just the injuries is holding Giannis back. And, if he can stay healthy next to Trae Young and Alex Sarr and Trey Johnson and Koulibaly and whoever else they pick up in the offseason, they have a lot of picks to go trade for other guys if they want to go get someone else or sign someone else. The Wizards will be a championship team in the East. Now, again, this is all hypothetical. Do I think they'll trade for Giannis? I don't know if it'll fall through, considering their injuries he's had. I'd say if he was 2 years ago, before all the injuries, and he's 28, 29 years old, it would be a no-brainer to trade the number 1 pick in Anthony Davis right now for Giannis Antetokounmpo, undoubtedly. But I do think, let's say they do get AJ, this team is still going to be really competitive. And that's the thing with the Wizards right now, is they have options. I mean, they were terrible this season just because Davis was injured. Again, they're young talent. They just don't have a lot of experience, but they now have a year of experience under their belt. they're going to have a healthy Trae Young, maybe a healthy Anthony Davis if he stays. Maybe if he doesn't even get traded to Milwaukee, which I think is going to be the main thing they look at. I don't think they're going to look to trading him back to LA for DeAndre Ayton or something. Like, by the way, I think DeAndre Ayton's working his way out of the league. I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's just been atrocious. But yeah, I think, there is options for the Wizards, which I think is a good thing. I mean, if you're a team with the number one overall pick and you have options, and every one of your options is a good option, I think the Wizards are in a good spot next year, regardless of what they do. They have a lot of really good young talent. They have franchise-changing players. Whether or not, if Anthony Davis does stay, they pair AJ up next to him or Darren Peterson. I think it'll be AJ because they just drafted Trey Johnson with the number 6 overall pick in the draft last year. And he's really turned out to look really good. And so I think the Wizards are in a good spot, with AJ, AD, and Trey, which is what I'm thinking is going to happen. But that's going to be a ridiculously good team. And I think a lot of people, because the Wizards have been so bad for such a long time, that they just cannot see this team turning around and being good no matter what they do. I've seen a lot of people say, well, I still don't think they're going to be very good. Guys, it's the Wizards. But look at some of the other teams that have turned. Like Indiana, before their finals run last year, they had some playoff runs, but they were not great before that until they just traded for Tyrese Halliburton. They traded for Pascal Siakam. They got a couple of really good players, and they had some good young talent. Nemhard, Nesmith, Benedict Mathurin. That's kind of the same boat as the Wizards. They traded and got Trae Young. They traded and got Anthony Davis. Next thing you know, you look at Wizards could make a deep playoff run. To me, it's very similar. They have really good talent. I think they'll be really good next year. I do. I think people can't see it because it's the Wizards, which I understand. But again, we'll keep an eye out whether or not they trade the pick. But I think there's options there. It'll be interesting to see that unfold. And then speaking of the draft, the number 2 and the number 3 pick went to the Jazz at number 2, the Grizzlies at number 3. We'll go over them briefly. I think the Jazz, unfortunately for both of these teams, actually, they're in the West, so they're going to have a really tough time. I mean, you look at the top competitors in the West. I mean, the whole entire playoffs here. I mean, these teams, even the lower seeds, are ridiculously good, and they're only going to get better next year. I mean, a lot of these teams are getting younger talent. The Spurs, look at how young that team is, and they were the number 2 overall, or the number 2 seed. So I think it's going to be tough for these teams to compete. I think the Jazz are in a way better spot than the Grizzlies. The Jazz, I think they'll be sneakily good next year. They traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. They had Keontae George. They have some actual good young pieces on that team. I don't think they'll be good, but I do think they'll be better. And I think they could upset some teams in the regular season, but I still think they're a little ways away. I think maybe they're a couple seasons away from actually being competitive in the West, which is so tough. It really is. Unless they go out and make some big signings in the offseason, they make some other big trades or something. If they go in and they get Cameron Boozer, I think they'll get Darren Peterson, to be honest. I mean, they have Walker Kessler. I think he missed the entire season this year, unfortunately, with injury. But, he's a great young piece at center. He's a trade candidate, so we'll see if he's even there next year. But, if they do keep him, they're in a good spot with young pieces. And you add on this draft is loaded with really good talent. I mean, what's his name? Yaxel Lendenborg or whatever. Yendenberg, I forgot how to say his last name. But, I mean, that's the guy who's going to be drafted at maybe number 10, 11, or 12. I've seen mock drafts with him falling to Oklahoma City. If that happens, this league is just, oh my gosh. Oklahoma City's probably going to lose Hardenstein. They're probably going to lose Lou Dort next year. But they have the number 12 overall pick in the draft. And there was a chance, Oklahoma City, I think they had a 7% chance of having a top 3 pick in the draft. And thank God it didn't end up happening. But, oh my gosh, could you imagine? And number 3 for the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies are really bad. They'll get a great young piece. I think they'll draft Boozer. So this is what I think. I think number 1, the Wizards, if they don't end up trading the pick for Giannis or whoever, which I don't think is going to happen still, but I think they're going to draft AJ. I think that's like a 70% chance. I think he'll be the number 1 overall pick. I think number 2, with Utah, I think they'll draft Darren Peterson, and then I think Cameron Boozer is going to go number 3 to Memphis. So I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I think that's a great young piece to have. But the Grizzlies are kind of just blowing it up, like opposite of the Jazz, opposite of the Wizards, where they have some pretty good young pieces, and I would say are actually kind of on the uprise as teams. Maybe the Jazz won't be quite as competitive as Washington will be next year, but I will say they'll be better than they were this year. I think the Grizzlies might actually be worse than they were this year. I think, again, they'll get a great young piece, but they're blowing it up. Like, this season was the season they blew it all up. And they're going to end up trading John Morant as well. I think John Morant's going to end up in Miami or somewhere else. He won't be a Memphis Grizzly, though, I can tell you that. But they'll be really bad. At least they'll get a good young piece, but I think they could be the worst team in the league next season still. So not too much to say about Memphis getting the number 3 pick, but the last team I want to talk about in the draft, who didn't even end up getting a pick, is the Indiana Pacers. And they ended up trading that pick for Zubac. And yes, he is a great center, but they kind of tanked in the hopes that they would get a top pick in the draft. Even if they just had the number 9 pick, like get a player of some sort. And they didn't end up getting anybody. And their pick went to the Clippers at number 5 overall, I believe. So that's tough. That's really tough for Indiana. And I think they're kind of downplaying it. I think people are like, hey, I've been seeing a lot of news around, sports news with the Pacers. And I've been seeing a lot of, they're saying, well, Tyrese will be back. They'll have a healthy Siakam. They'll have Zubac now to add to the mix. But who's to say Tyrese Halliburton comes back the same player? I mean, we've seen this team without Tyrese Halliburton this season. I mean, they were absolutely atrocious to watch. I mean, they were undoubtedly one of the worst teams in the league. But you could argue they were the worst team in the league. And we remember that finals run last year. Halliburton hitting all those crazy clutch shots in the playoffs, buzzer beaters. I mean, he was their guy who did it. And he gets everybody involved. He makes everybody better. He's one of the better playmakers. He might be the best playmaker in the league. You could argue that, and I would not argue against you. But he has had an incredible mental battle over the last year or so now. Since he, tore his Achilles in the NBA Finals in Game 7, that's got to take a toll on him. They may have very well won the NBA championship if it would have just held up for another game, which is not his fault. But if that would have just held up for another game, they may have been NBA champions, and he would have a ring on his finger. But they don't, and they ended up losing that game. And on top of that, he's been battling shingles, which he said has been debilitating. I think he said it's been worse than the injury he's had. Like, that is a ridiculous, man. I mean, he has been through some mental struggles, and his body's been through it. Like, and he said he's put on some weight, the medication. I mean, we've seen it. People have had some crazy nicknames for him. I feel for him. I really do. I mean, you work your entire life to get to a moment to be in a Game 7 against a team you really have no business even being in a Game 7 with. I mean, you look at Oklahoma City and Indiana's roster, it's like it's really not even comparable. But, they worked hard. I mean, he worked his whole life to get to that moment, to tear his Achilles at the beginning of the game in a Game 7. Like, that is horrible. And then on top of that, you get shingles. And that has been horrible for him. He said that's been the worst one of all. He's put on a considerable amount of weight, which, again, he's in the prime of his life. He's a professional athlete. I mean, he's definitely going to lose that weight. But that still sucks. Like, he's clearly, it's taken a toll on him. And who's to say he comes back the same player as he was before? I mean, that injury he had, there's been a number of players in this league that have had that injury. Derrick Rose is an example. Now, Derrick Rose, his play style was based a lot more on his athleticism than it was Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is a lot more of a playmaker. He's not necessarily the most athletic guard in the world, but he's pretty athletic. But when you lose that step, no matter who you are, the game becomes a lot harder. And, if he does end up losing that step, this, right now, them not having a top 5 pick in the draft, them being able to have a guy like Cameron Boozer. Maybe they could have the number 1 pick in the draft. They could have maybe had AJ. They could have had Darren Peterson. Like, is really going to suck. Like, that's going to set them back a little while because this draft is deep. Like, this is a really strong draft, and they missed out on it. And I get Zubac is a great player. He's one of the better centers in the league. But it's tough. I would take any of these guys over Zubac, to be honest. Like, I think you're very limited with him, so I do believe that if Tyrese Halliburton comes back, Zubac looks great next to him. Siakam's fine. They end up, they go out and get some replacements for Mathurin. Like, you remember they lost Mathurin, they lost Miles Turner, which they did replace with Zubac, but still, this franchise is going to rely a lot on whether or not Tyrese Halliburton comes back the same player. So, right now, we don't know how it's going to look for Indiana. They're kind of playing it off. It's like, oh, well, Tyrese will come back. We still have Zubac, which is great, which could turn out to be fine, but there's a lot on the line. Like, this franchise, they're relying entirely on Tyrese Halliburton coming back the same player. So he's been through some mental struggles. So let's hope he can come back the same player and physical battles as well on top of the mental struggles. But, we'll see. So, yeah. And LeBron, tonight with the Lakers, it could be LeBron's last game. We've seen Stephen A. Smith talking about it. I've seen Nick Wright talk about it. Just a lot of talk in the media about it. Even with my honest opinion, there is no chance. If the Lakers do end up losing tonight, which they'll lose the series, there's no way. If they were maybe going against Portland, if they were down 3-0 against Portland or something, I'd say there's a chance this team could come back and win. But against Oklahoma City, who's been so dominant against every team they played the last few years now, especially this postseason, there's no chance. They may end up maybe winning 2 games straight. I mean, they've been competitive in the first half, but they're just missing Luka Doncic. I mean, they're just straight up. Like, they don't have the scoring, to stick with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, to be able to stick with guys like AJ Mitchell off the bench. Like, their depth, like, their team just runs deep. Like, their roster, they have guys like AJ Mitchell off the bench the other night, almost dropping 30. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. Like, Isaiah Joe off the bench, he can just come in and drop 15 plus when they need. Chet, Hartenstein, that double big combo there, like, they're just an unstoppable force. Like, there's no chance the Lakers will come back and win this series. I'd put a lot on it that they won't. So I do believe that this will be the Lakers' last series in this playoff stretch. And whether or not this is their last game tonight, we'll see. But this will not be LeBron's last game. It will not be his last year playing. For the first time in a while, probably since the bubble, or even the year after, we'll say that, this feels like LeBron now really feels like he can win a championship in LA when Luka Doncic is healthy and Austin Reeves is healthy, and they need to go get another center. I mean, throughout LeBron's pretty much entire stay in LA, they haven't had a center at all. DeAndre Ayton is a joke. I mean, he's going to have a hard time, getting a job next year in the NBA. I don't believe he'll be a Laker. He's just lazy. Yeah, it's not a talent issue. It's a number 1 overall pick in the draft a few years ago. In the same draft as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And there's no shortage of talent for DeAndre. He's just lazy as shit. He's out there. Doris Burke and them are saying during the game the other day, oh, there's DeAndre Ayton 2 minutes before 2 missed rebounds before he got benched when he gave up like 7 offensive rebounds to the Thunder in 1 possession. They're saying, oh, there's DeAndre Ayton just walking to another rebound. There he is staring at it, not moving. Like, and JJ Redick couldn't have got him out of the game soon enough. Like, it was bad. He'll have a hard time finding a job next year. He is lazy. He's talented, but he is lazy. You can't make up for that. He's been in the league too long now, and that just has not changed. That's why Phoenix moved off him. That's why Portland moved off of him. It's just you can't do anything about it. He's just a lazy ass player. So, but one thing with LeBron, he's going to want a farewell tour. He has done everything a player could look to accomplish in this league. Everything. He has almost every record. He's almost number 1 in every record there is to be known in basketball. He's done it all. But you think he's going to want to go out getting swept to Oklahoma City, losing 4-1, 4-2, whatever. There's no way and that's going to happen. He's going to want a Kobe Bryant type farewell. All the celebrities in LA surrounding him. He's going to announce it whenever. He's going to put up 50 shots, 30 free throws. He's going to have 50 plus points. And it's going to be the LeBron game. He's going to put up a gazillion. He's going to say, screw it, it's my last game. I'm putting up a shit ton of shots. And then he could do that when he's 46 years old. Like, this team's competing for a championship right now. So it's not necessarily like, the Lakers were terrible Kobe Bryant's last year. And a lot of these guys this last year, their teams were really bad. He's not in that situation, and he's playing really, really good basketball. Like, Kobe Bryant his last year couldn't win a playoff series with that Lakers team if he wanted to, right? Like, he couldn't. Without Luka, like, let's say he was on this team now, he couldn't win a series without Luka Doncic. Like, he just wasn't the same player anymore. And I'm not even just calling out Kobe. Like, I'm calling out a lot of these guys. And like, they're just kind of done. LeBron is not even close to being done at all. He's still playing at a ridiculous level. So we don't know when his career will end, but you think he's just going to end it playing at the level he's still playing at, getting swept to Oklahoma City? There's no chance. Hell will freeze over before this is LeBron's last game tonight. I can promise that. There's just no way. So, if you're wondering, whether or not tonight will be his last game, it won't. Trust me. It's not like Shaq, with the Celtics, where a lot of these guys just can't play anymore. They're the 12th best guy. They might not even be the best. They may have legitimately some guys in their G League that were better than Shaq on the Celtics team. But he's just on the team because he's Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, LeBron's not like that. Like, this guy still could compete for championships. Like, and he has the team to do so. So he's not just going to walk out. He has Bronny on his team. This will not be his last series, his last game. No chance. So trust me. Whatever talk you're hearing with that, LeBron may sit there and the post-game interview and say, well, I'm going to take some time in the offseason, like he said the last couple of years. Think about it. It's in his mind. He's playing another season. Undoubtedly, he's going to want a farewell tour and his last game, putting up 50. He's played his whole life to do that. He's done everything you could do to do that. Why would he just end it getting absolutely demolished by the Thunder? There's no way he's doing that. So, yeah, don't worry about tonight's being LeBron's last game or series. So, yeah, guys, that's it. That's all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Again, if you have not hit that subscribe button, make sure to do so, as we are on the road to 500 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. So it would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching, and per usual, y'all, take it easy.